Hello, dear students. Well, we are going to start unit number 1, and in this section, we will focus attention on grammar. Grammar, unit number 1, live fifth. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to share with you my book right now. Okay, so as you can see in this book, live uh, level fifth, well, we have certain, let's say, structures for the analysis of grammar. Unit number 1, we are going to review present tenses. You know all this, but we are going to explain once again. We have the simple present tense, the present continuous tense, and the perfect present tense. Okay, we are going to analyze this, but as well, we also have the difference between the present and the past in the analysis of the simple past and the present perfect. So let's start with this analysis. That's why I'm going to share right now another, let's say, uh, document. In this case, it's just a document with the most important points about the present in English. Okay, so I'm going to uh, show you this, the differences between the simple present, present continuous, and the present perfect. Well, as I was saying, in the simple present, everything is simple. So we don't have any mark to show this simple present. We say, for instance, I speak, okay? As you can see, there is nothing else with the verb. Or you could also say they work in the morning. And notice that in this case, they work, nothing, let's say, will appear with the verb work. Okay, so only with the third person singular, we have a mark, and this mark is an S. Okay, so for the third person singular, we say he, she, or it, and of course, with this, we mark the verb with the S, okay? And that's why we say he works, she works, it works. But notice that these are pronouns. If we just mention the object or the thing or the person, we will have it the same. For instance, my cell phone works. No, it is it because it's an object. But we could also say Albert, my friend, works in the morning. Okay, so notice that we will use the S only for the third person singular. The third person singular is just the person that we talk about, okay? The grammar person. That's the simple present. But there is another form. That is when you refer to actions in their progress, okay? So we say, for instance, I, okay? And for this, we will use the form of the verb be, am. That in this case corresponds to the use of this first person singular. I am. And then the main verb. I am speaking to you. And notice that we use for this form of the present, the continuous, the form of the verb be, and together with ing to the main verb, okay? And in this case, we say, I am speaking to you. He, that in this case, will use another form of the verb be, he is, okay? He is listening, is listening to music, okay? And of course, if you want to use another form, you will have to do the same. That is, the formula will be the subject plus the form of the verb be plus the verb, the main verb, plus ing. That's it, nothing else. So, for instance, the plural forms or the second person singular, you will say, for instance, you are, because are is the form of the verb be that correspond to you, okay? So you are working. Okay. Well, that's it. This is the simple present, and this is the present continuous. And how about the present perfect? It's quite simple. You say it, the form of the verb have that corresponds to the subject and the main verb with its past participle, because it's something that we had done, that we referred to it from one point of beginning and another point of an ending, okay? So for instance, I can say I have written, okay? Notice that it started in the past and it is finished right now at this moment, okay? Or you could say she has, because the third person singular will take has as the form of the verb have in this structure, okay? So we say she has visited her mother, okay? So in this case, we also refer to a present perfect, which is the form to create this structure. It is just the subject plus the form of the verb have or has, no, has only for the third person singular, no, plus the main verb in its past participle, okay? Normally we say verb with with the adding the ed form, okay? Because it is what we have, the past participle in regular verbs. But you know that in English, there are lots of irregular verbs and they will take their forms, and that may vary a lot. Like in this case, written. Well, okay. Then, and how do we form these sentences? You know, there are different sentences: affirmative sentences, negative sentences, interrogative sentences. And for those sentences, we have different forms. Let's analyze them right now. And I'm going to share with you the analysis of all these forms, okay? Let's see, with a simple present, the one that we started analyzing, if it is an affirmative sentence, we just say the subject and then the main verb. For instance, I live, you live, we live, they live, nothing else. But if it is the third person singular, we add the S, nothing else. He lives, she lives, it lives. If it is a negative sentence, you just add the auxiliary do or does for the third person singular and the adverb net, the particle net, which is a negative adverb. Then we say the subject, the particle together with the auxiliary verb and the main verb. That's it. I don't live in Peru. We don't live in Argentina. We live in Ecuador. And for the third person singular, we should say, he doesn't live. She doesn't live. Okay? And you may say it together as a contractive form or as two simple words. Okay? If it is interrogative, you just say, do I work? Do they work? Do they live? Do I live? Okay? So we use do, the subject, and the verb. Live, work, study, any verb. If it is third person singular, instead of do, which is the auxiliary for the rest of the subjects, we use does because it's the auxiliary in which we have the z sound accompanying the third person singular. Does she live? Does he live? Does it live? And of course, we may also change that verb as well. Does she paints? Does she writes? Etc. And of course, the short answer you may find, it's just using the auxiliary do or does in the affirmative or negative form. Okay, that's it. Then the present continuous, it's just the same as I explained. We use I, the form of the verb be, am, and the form of the verb with ing. Okay, I am living in Santo Domingo. The negative form will be the same, but including not together with the verb be. So we say, I am not living in Quito. You just change the form of the verb be according to the subject you use. So instead of saying am for the second person singular, you will say you are. Instead of saying am for the third person singular, you will use is. So I am living, you are living, he or she or it is living. But if it is plural, we use, you are going to use are, which is the same form of the verb be for all plurals. Then if you are going to negate, you just add not to the form of the verb be. I am not living in Quito. You are not living in Quito. She is not living in Guayaquil. And if you are going to ask any question, you just make an inverted form. You use first the form of the verb be, then the subject, then the main verb with ing, like in these cases. Am I living? Are you living? Is he living? And the same with the other subjects. The answer could be positive or negative, as we have seen in the simple present. So we can say, yes, I am, or no, I am not. And notice that we will answer with the form of the verb be in this case, not with do. And finally, the other form of the present here would be the present perfect. And we, as I explained, we are going to use have or has according to the subject. Have for all persons except third person singular. With third person singular, we will use has or the contractive form z. His, she's, its, and then the main verb lived. If it is negative, we will use these negative structure together with the auxiliary have or has. You haven't lived. We haven't lived. They haven't lived. And for the third person, you will do the same with the verb has. He hasn't lived. She hasn't lived. It hasn't lived. Okay? The interrogative form, it's as we did with the others, an inverted form. We will place first the auxiliary have or has, then the subject, and finally the main verb. Have I lived? Have you lived? Have we lived? Have they lived? Has she lived? Has he lived? Has it lived? Well, it's just the same. And of course, the short answer would be, as we explained, with this auxiliary. Yes, I have. Yes, she has. But if it is negative, you will say, no, you haven't. No, he hasn't. That's the way. Well, that was the first part. Now let us analyze the second part in our book. In this case, the second structure we have in the book is just the constructive form between the simple past and the present perfect, okay? And you can see that you can go to page 156, in which you will have the summary of this grammar, okay, for the whole unit. You can go there and do as well all these exercises. But let's explain the differences between the present perfect and the simple past. Well, I am going to stop this presentation with the book, and let us see this in, let's say, in the analysis of, let's say, a poster, okay? So let's see if you can look at it perfectly well. The simple past will refer to an action that belongs to the past completely. So when we say we lived in Japan from 1955 to 1995, sorry, to 1998, okay, it means that we were living in Japan at that moment in the past. It's not possible to refer to it at the moment, at this present time. Then, if I say I've worked as a teacher since 211, in that case, it means that I started teaching at this moment, 211, and I am a teacher right now, okay? So the difference is just that the action started in the past, but the effect it's seen at this moment, at the present time. So in the simple past, you express a finished time, it had finished, but with the present perfect, you describe an unfinished time, okay? That's the main difference. And here you can see, well, some examples, okay? We live in Japan from 1995 to 1998, a period of time that started and ended in the past, okay? I saw the Eiffel Tower in 207. It was in the past, completely in the past, okay? But if we say I've worked as a teacher since 2011 or 2011, that period started at a given moment and it continues at this moment. And in certain cases, let's say, influences the, let's say, the present moment, okay? Well, that's the main difference between one and the other. For instance, you see here, first, he read. First, he read. Notice that it could be read in the present, but it is read in the past. First, he read book and then he watched movie. That's completely in the past. He went to the cinema every weekend last year. That belongs to last year, not to this one. But if you say, have you ever seen this movie from, I don't know, long time ago, maybe when you were born, up to this moment, up to today? And the answer could be yes or no. Yes, I have. No, I haven't. So notice that you may find the same auxiliaries that we had studied before. The point here is that with the past simple, in this case, we don't have here anything but the main verb in its simple past. He read or he went. In this case, if you want to answer, you can say, instead of a question, when you ask a question, you will say, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. Because here, the auxiliary that we will use instead of do or does that we use for the present, it is did for all persons, okay? And we use it for asking questions and also for answering those questions in short forms, okay? Well, that's it. That's the main ideas that we have to share with you concerning the structures for this unit, okay? Remember that you have to study from your book and you will do the exercises that I explained before in your workbook at the end of your book, okay? Well, I'll see you. Bye-bye. And we will analyze these forms in our lessons, okay? Bye.